we're going to talk about the Druids. It's not easy to find information about the Druids because it doesn't exist. A lot of what you hear about the Druids is propaganda, but I got to pull the chats up. So this is actually Irish Celtic. Yeah, it's just summer solstice, midsummer music for ritual celebration. Sounds good, right? And pull the chats up here. So enjoy the music for a second. Hold on. Is DH77 in D Live right now? That's another reason I'm late. Our mail came late today. And I got a package. I'm going to show you what it is in a second if she shows up. Hold on. Just turn this down a little bit. So what happened was I was also trying to find some reading glasses. I couldn't find any in any of the stores around my neighborhood that I liked. So I'm going to have to go on a mission. Apparently reading glasses come in different strengths. And I need like the weakest ones because the other ones were like too strong. I only needed them because the lighting is bad. I'm going to attempt to read you a chapter about the Druids out of this book called Secret Societies of the Ages. I was recently donated a large amount of, well, not really a large, a good amount, like about a dozen occult books, as you recently know, and this one, Secret Societies of the Ages, but there's a problem, and we're going to talk about that problem with the Druids, because everything that we know about the Druids seems to be Roman and Greek disinformation. Yeah, go figure. They've been doing the Trump MAGA treatment to people for thousands of years, and they wrote bad about them, accused them of human sacrifice, cannibalism, barbarianism. Yet they also wrote that they were highly intellectual and knowledgeable of astrology. It makes no... So, I have a theory on who the Druids were. We're even going to go... talk to you about a Celtic secret society known as the Ancient Order of Hyberians. Hyberians, sorry. Alright, so, first things first. Hit the like button, share, subscribe. If anyone's able to help out with donations, all the links are in the description. I do not run ads on my videos. 100% crowdfunded. And who was it? No, Vigilant Patriot wanted to know if I got the money they sent me, and someone else did. Yes, I did. He said, go get some beer. Okay, I did. All right, I got... Are you happy? We're talking about Celtic mysticism tonight. How could I not drink? Yeah. You know why God invented whiskey? So the Irish will never rule the world. Specifically, Irish Catholics. And as some bonus footage, I have a call from Coast to Coast AM in 1996 with Art Bell with a woman named Eva that calls up and says that she's from a very high-profile family in San Francisco and that she believes that she is demonically possessed and wants to know how she can get a priest to do an exorcism. Although she converted to Judaism, as per her family, which means they're Kabbalists. And that woman sounds a lot like Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, 1996. Isn't it amazing what you could dig up on the internet? So we're going to listen to that. That came from Linda Paris at McAllister TV. She covered it about 2 days ago, and I'm going to share the phone call with you later on. And we're going to... You know what? The lighting's not too bad in here. I think I could read this. But, So basically, the Druids are they were the mystics, or that's what they say, from Albion, which is the British Isles now. Let me turn the music off here. Everything we know about the Druids, or history in general, has been passed down by Rome. And it took me a while, but I actually found an article here which does make the argument that Rome were biased against the Druids and wrote bad about them. So anything that you read about Roman history written by the Romans and Greeks, you got to take with a pinch of salt, because they do the same exact thing the Democrats do to people they don't like politically. It's been going on for thousands of years. And I do not believe the Druids were engaging in quote-unquote human sacrifice. Julius Caesar actually had the Druids Grove burned down because apparently there was some type of mystical power with the Druids Grove in England. At that time, it would have been called Albion. There's a few different theories on who the Druids could have actually been. Were they giants, first of all? Now, you also have Hyperborea around the British Isles at this time. I think I've made a video on Hyperborea before. Supposedly remnants of ancient Atlantis. So that's why I use the word mysticism rather than occult. Big difference between the two words. Okay, a pagan does sacrifices to the gods and goddesses, as per the Romans. That is the definition of pagan. But they never addressed the Druids as being quote-unquote pagan, although they accuse them of human cannibalism and human sacrifice. Kind of like what they do with the Cynocephali. So who were the Druids of Roman Britain? Yeah, we're going to read that. And I want to... The DH77 make it in here yet? Are you at D Live yet? Alright, you know what? I got a package in the mail today. I had no idea what this was. So I opened it up. It wasn't a bomb. You know what? I got her return address. Yeah, having addresses goes both ways. Just remember that. I might be mailing you something. I might have some extra Kinney t-shirts laying around. Women's, too. So, here, let me take the note. There was a note in here, message in a bottle, right? Here, let me go up to full screen to show you this. She made me a stash jar. There's a note inside of here. I'm not going to read the note on here. But it's a... Yeah, you got it. It says Kinney's Kush. I had no idea she was making this. It's a stash jar. Oh, look at the sound it makes. Isn't that cool? Now we just gotta get some stuff to fill it up with, right? Anyway, thank you. That was really cool. Can I defuse bombs? No, whatever. So anyway, why am I talking about the Druids? Because I don't think anyone wants, if you're getting tired of just seeing purple hair people spaz out, because apparently they get pregnant a lot, which is mind-boggling. Have you seen the people protesting outside the Supreme Court? I think they'd be lucky if someone knocked one. Yeah, all right, let's not even go there. Yeah, these people are breeding. Whatever. I told you that the reason why I'm having a hard time trying to see any goodness is because of the fact that they had to release it on a date that equates to 666. 624-2022. That's 666. No numerology there. Symbolism will be their downfall. So why did they release it on 666? That's what today's date equates to. Right after Litha, the summer solstice. Of all things. Yeah. Unfortunately, the like their recent false flag in Uvalde, Texas, which is getting blown wide open, I think that this is going to backfire on them, so don't worry. Because believe it or not, there isn't that much out of 350 million Americans. How many of them do you really believe are okay with child sacrifice and abortion? How many more of them would be okay with it if they knew about the money laundering scam, the stem cell harvesting, and adrenochrome, possibly, that was being utilized by Planned Parenthood? And now I'm just going to stop talking about it there. I think even more people, if they found that truth out, would be even more disgusted, which I think is coming soon. This might be the time that Q was talking about bringing pain. First, you had the Second Amendment ruling, Roe versus Wade now. I heard they had to do that ruling because of fertility issues and the health of the American population going forward 5, 10, 15 years from now, which was the plan. So, yeah, we'll stop there. But we are going to be talking about human sacrifice, though, so that's interesting, right? So, let me tell you shortly who are the Druids of Roman Britain? Roman, remember that because it's them writing the history books here. Apparently, the Druids didn't keep a written history, which is interesting. And then Rome tried to accuse them of all kinds of things. One thing that I know for a fact is Atlanteans were not into idol worship. That's why there are no hieroglyphs in the Great Pyramid that they built. Anything that pagans or the Illuminati built, even today with sports stadiums, why do you think every sports stadium is named after a bank or a corporation? Just like if they rebuilt the Pyramid of Giza today, it would be the, the Chase Manhattan New Giza Pyramid Plateau Complex, right? Yeah. They put their symbolism on everything, which is interesting. Hence comes back to the 666 date. So, yeah, let me try it if you want to see the text on this. Ancient Roman authors, such as Caesar and Tacitus, they wrote Tacticus wrong in this. That's not how you spell his name. I know who Tacticus is. Perceived the Druids of Gaul and Britain as savages. According to the Romans, the Druids took part in strange rituals which possibly required human sacrifice. Yeah, this is exactly what Democrats do today, blame other people what they're guilty of, right? But is there any truth to these accounts? Get ready to discover who the Druids of Roman Britain really are. The oldest description of Druids is Julius Caesar's De Bello Gallico, or the Gallic Wars, penned by Caesar in the 1st century BCE. The work introduced the Roman world to the Druids. Other popular Roman authors, including Cicero, Tacitus, and Pliny the Elder, are also provided accounts, yet they all depicted the Druids and their practices as barbaric. Yeah, interesting, right? It was not uncommon for Roman authors to describe unknown and foreign peoples in this way. But because the Druids did not document their own practices and religion, there was no way to dispute Roman accounts. That sounds like exactly what was happening in the January 6th Commission, right? With their not allowing any, defense witnesses to come up. It's amazing how I can simplify what goes on in modern times with ancient times, because they're not that creative. It's the same demon-possessed people, more or less. Just, According to Caesar, who had encountered Druids in Gaul, they were an essential class of Gallic society. The Druids recognized a single leader who ruled the group until his death. They met at a sacred place in Gaul every year, while Britain remained the center of Druidic studies. Caesar notes that the Druids who wished to undertake further Druidic education often made pilgrimages to Britain to improve their knowledge, which sometimes lasted over 20 years. The Druids did not take part in war. But they engage in human sacrifice and they're barbarians, but they don't engage in war. Yeah, okay, bro. Is that like the MAGA crowd that doesn't actually walk around with guns threatening to overthrow the government? Yeah, it's the same thing. It's amazing, isn't it? And were exempt from military taxes and enlistment. Instead, they studied lore, medicine, astrology, and philosophy, among other subjects. According to Caesar, they did not record their practices, but they did make use of the Greek alphabet in different spheres of their public and private accounts. I'm calling bullshit. How would they know the Greek alphabet in Britain? That is bullshit. I've seen, I didn't pull it up. There are Celtic runes written in the old language. It looks nothing like Greek, okay? Have you ever heard Gaelic? I can't even speak Gaelic. Most Irish people can't speak Gaelic. Yeah. But they were writing in Greek. Okay. Caesar's most disturbing recording is the practice of human sacrifice, for which the Druids used criminals. The victim would be sacrificed through burning in a wicker man. I just showed you the wicker man video the other day on the solstice. The wicker man was a large wicker effigy in which the body was placed, yet archaeology has not provided any evidence of this practice nor of its associations with the Druids. Indeed, it is not unlikely that Caesar exaggerated specific claims to exemplify Gaul and Britain's conquest. Caesar depicted the Druids as both learned and barbaric, but just how much of this account is exaggerated, we will probably never know. And I'm going to stop there. I'm not even going to read the Roman accounts of the Druids, because we're going to read them from this book right here, which is going to be, hey, it's going to give, I don't know who, I mean, the person that wrote this book is highly knowledgeable of the occult, obviously. I haven't read the chapter on the Druids. You're going to read it the first time with me. But I have a feeling that there's been a secret society of the Druids kind of plagiarized, like they did with Adam Weishaupt and the Illuminati, where, John Doe, you did not donate $10. The biggest troll on my YouTube channel just donated $10. Are you kidding me? Am I, what's going on? Come on, man. Well, thank you. Thanks for the diamond, too, over at D-Live. Okay, she's there now. John Doe. Yeah, okay. John, you're lucky you ain't banned off my channel. I guess, well, you bought me beer next month. Thank you. That goes towards my birthday fund at the end of next month. When you I think he's trying to mess up with my mojo here. So, the movie Golden Eagle, much is spoken in Gaelica. Yeah, well, we're going to have a hard time pronouncing a lot of words when I read this chapter. Luckily, the chapter is not too long. I should, but I'll tell you what, I read the preface to this book, and this guy is definitely into the occult. So, there's probably a biased description of the Druids in this book, and without a doubt. Because, in all honesty, there is not good information about the Druids. It's all conjecture. They say that in this book they are the Magi of the West, and that they had temples. Temples are strictly Roman Greco things. Yeah, just like they said there. Druids were speaking Greek. Yeah, okay. Rights, doctrines, political and judicial power, priestesses, abolition. Okay. Let's find this. We're going to read this in a second. It's going to be interesting what they do say in here, right? Sons of the Widow. Oh, they got the Sons of the Widow in here? That's from the Masons. Actually, hold on. This ain't too bad. 1, 2, 3. It's like 4.5 pages of text. It's not too bad. But the text is very, very small. So, you're wondering why I'm squinting while I'm reading this, yeah, look at the size of the text. Yeah, good luck with that. That's why I was trying to get reading glasses, because it's dark in here right now with the lighting, and the light comes from this way, so if I'm holding a book in front of my face, I gotta hold it at a certain angle so I can see the... Alright, we'll be alright. It might not look like it, but I have a lot of lights going on here. If you ever just hook up a camera and try to live stream like I did back when I first started, it looks like shit. You can't see anything. I had to switch all my lights. If you see behind me, I have all LEDs. And the reason why is because LEDs don't oversaturate the camera with that white light, you know what I'm talking about, where you can't see anything. So there's a method to the madness with the lighting here. So anyway, and I tried to go all around the internet and find different accounts of the Druids, and it was just the same thing. Not very good information. Now, I have no idea what's written in this book, and you're going to read it with me for the first time. Then, before I end the stream, we're going to listen to Nancy Pelosi's calling as a woman named Eva, calling in the Coast to Coast AM in 1996 with Art Bell, because she thinks she's demonically possessed, and she wants to know how she can get an exorcism done and what she needs to do with Jesus to go about it. You can't make this up. I'm not joking. And it sounds like Nancy Pelosi. Wow. I didn't even... 1996? Yeah, I guess Art Bell was doing Coast to Coast AM back then. I was only like 17 years old back then. That was crazy. And I looked it up. She was still in San Francisco at that time. She wasn't Speaker of the House in 1996. So she was in San Francisco. Says she comes from a very powerful family. So, yeah, we'll listen to that. Did you see what happened with Nancy Pelosi today? She didn't want to smile because her money laundering and stem cell and adrenochrome operation just got shut down with Planned Parenthood. And I heard when her husband was arrested, there was a hooker in the car. It's probably a tranny. Yeah, hold on. Wait a second. I got allergies bothering me. Hold on. Yeah, so I'm not really going to talk about it anymore today, but if what I think is true, maybe this is the part where the Democrats start feeling pain and panic, because their heads are exploding after the Second Amendment thing yesterday, and then the thing about not the Roe versus Wade. They're losing it, right? They're free. Yeah, whatever. And then you got the Joe Biden them telling the Supreme Court to go F yourself, more or less. We don't need no stinking laws. What do you mean? Right? We know who. Did you see Joe Biden's card yesterday with what to do when he's in front of the... A lot of people covered it. He had a dementia card written out for him, when to sit down, when to... yeah, whatever. It's a fucking joke. If you look at the posts on my wall, I show you that one post that all the signatures on the executive orders are fraudulent. I can't report that to any law enforcement agency because I'll be the one that's locked up. Like, how dare you report on... No one else figured that out in 17 months? That's amazing. None of the Anons, none of the white hats figured that out? So, yeah, who's putting those fake signatures on executive orders? So anything that comes from the Biden administration has no legal standing. All you got to do is take it to court and show the signatures on the executive orders. That's it. And yeah, signature is a legally binding contract. I worked in contracts for years, selling cars and doing debt collection. Yeah, it's legally binding. And if it's fraudulent, that's bad. So anyway, I'm going to attempt to read these chapters here. So I don't think, no, this is that Molek. I'm not playing that video again. This is that Molek video. I tried to do a search on YouTube about the Druids, and nothing really good. No one's really got solid info. A lot of it comes from the Roman Greco accounts, and let's see what they wrote in this book about it. Now, this book I'm about to read was written in 1865. This is a reprint from the 60s, I believe. The secret societies of all ages and countries. It covers everything from the Masons to the Druids. Now, I believe there is a secret society named the Druids that plagiarized the original Druids. A lot like with the Illuminati, you had the Adam Weishaupt Illuminati that started like the 1600s. That was a bunch of BS. When I say Illuminati, I am talking about the Anunnaki, period. Yeah, not Adam Weishaupt. So, let's see if I still know how to read here. I'm to pull some. You know what? I'm just gonna go up to full screen while I do this. So how's everyone? I'm looking over at the chat today. Yeah, what a strange world. When one of my biggest trolls is super chatting me. Well, I heard George Soros pays well. Spread the love, John. At least I know he's not a bot, because bots don't give you super chats. If they did, that'd be pretty cool. Did you see the thumbnail image on my picture? The Planned Parenthood headquarters is modeled after a Mayan temple. I mean, could it be any more in your face? Here, hold on, wait. I got the thumbnail. Let me just show you. I mean, it can't be any more in your face than this. This is not even a meme. This is, look at this. That's the Planned Parenthood headquarter building. It's a step pyramid. And this is the Mayan and well, no, that's an Aztec temple. Oh, no, that's Mayan. I'm looking around my camera from 1515. Yeah. Nothing to see. Oh, wait, I'm not sharing my desktop. Wait a second. Right here. Here, that picture. The Planned Parenthood headquarters is a step pyramid. This isn't a meme. And there you go, right there. That's a Mayan temple that was made for human sacrifice, for Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent. It's Molech worship. There's no way he's sugarcoating anything. And there's some other things going on there. So a little bit of money laundering, a little bit of stem cells. Anyone remember those videos that popped up years ago of Planned Parenthood selling body parts? You think this is, yeah, come on. So, there might be some good going on here. Alright, thank you. Gracie Berger has just become a channel member. Alright, thank you. So yeah, let's read this. Or attempt to, right? I'll show you the book I'm reading. Text is small, but you can see the chapter there. The Druids. Right? The Druids, the Magi of the West. The secret doctrines of the Druids were much the same as those of the Gymnosophists and Brahmins of India, the Magi of Persia, the priests of Egypt, and all other priests of antiquity. Like them, they had two sets of religious doctrines, esoteric and exoteric. The rites were practiced in Britain and Gaul, though they were brought to a much greater perfection in the former country, where the Isle of Anglesey was considered their chief seat. The word Druid is generally supposed to derive from opus and oak, which tree was particularly sacred among them, though its etymology may also be found in the Gaelic word Druda. Yeah, all right, I'm going to butcher Gaelic right now. I'm telling you that right now. It's one of the hardest languages to speak. A wise man or magician. Temples. They're temples wherein the sacred fire was preserved, were generally situated on eminences and in dense groves of oaks, and assumed various forms. Circular because a circle was an emblem of the universe. Oval is an allusion to the mundane egg, comes from the cosmic egg in Buddhism, from which, according to the traditions of many nations, the universe, or according to others, our first parents issued serpentine. No, can't make this up. Serpentine is in here. Because a serpent was the symbol of who? The Druidic Osiris. Cruciform, because a cross is an emblem of regeneration, or winged, to represent the motion of the divine spirit. The only canopy was the sky, and they were constructed of unhewn stones, their numbers having reference to astronomical calculations. In the center was placed a stone or larger dimension than the others, and worshipped as the representative of the deity. Now, the reason I mentioned this was written in 1865. If you know about Common Core education, they've been dumbing down the Americans for a long time, and it's been going on over 100 years. When you read texts from the 1800s, they're written on a much higher reading level than most of our stuff is now. So, yeah, there are some words in here that I'm kind of mispronouncing because honestly, they're words we don't use every day, but they did in the 1800s. And because they had been dumbing people down for a long time. Around this time when this book was written, 1865 to the early 1900s, you had a huge occult renaissance being led by like Aleister Crowley and a whole bunch of other people. So a lot of these books were being printed then. In the center was placed a stone of larger dimensions than the others, and worshipped as the representatives of the deity. The three principal temples of the description in Britain were undoubtedly those of Stonehenge and Adbury in the south, and that of the Shap and Cumberland. Where stone was scarce, rude banks of earth were substituted, and the temple was formed of a high volume ditch. The most Herculean laborers, yeah, like that word, Herculean. Who uses that word anymore? Was performed in the construction. Stokely says that it would cost at the present time £20,000 to throw up such a mound in Silbury Hill. So a lot of this, I can already tell it's plagiarized from the Romans. They're using words in here that Druids wouldn't have used. Hold on. Places of initiation. The adytum or ark of the mysteries was called crumlock or dolmen, and was used the sacred pastos or place of regeneration. It consisted of 3 upright stones as supporters of a broad flat stone laid across them on the top, as so to form a small cell. Kit Coty's house in Kent was such a pastos. Considerable space, however, was necessary for the machinery of initiation in its largest and most comprehensive scale. Therefore, the color Sidhi, I knew this was going to be a nightmare with Gaelic words. I can't. Where the mysteries of Judaism were performed consisted of a range of buildings adjoining the temple, containing apartments of all sizes, cells, vaults, vast and long, and artificially contrived passages, with all the apparatus of terror used on these occasions. Most frequently, these places were subterranean, and many of the caverns in the country were scenes of druidical initiation. It's interesting. So they resided in caves also, just like the Sinos of Folly did. the stupendous grotto at Castleton in Derbyshire, called by Stuckley the Stygian Cave, as well as the Giant's Caves at Luckington and Badminster in Wilts, certainly were used for this purpose. The Giant's Caves, can you see that? They said giant. Now, it's been theorized that Stonehenge itself was built by giants. This is interesting. All right, so the next chapter is rites. I'm telling you, this is. I got to get reading this. It's not that my eyesight is bad. It's when the lighting isn't so good. Yeah, the text is pretty small. All right, rites. The system of Druidism embraced every religious and philosophical pursuit then known in these islands. The rites bore an undoubted reference to the astronomical facts. Their chief deities, and reducible or two, a male and a female, the great father and mother, Hugh and Saridwin, distinguished by the characteristics as belong to Osiris and Isis. See, they're trying to make a correlation between the Druid gods, even if, who said they even worship gods like pagans did? And they're trying to make a correlation between Osiris and Isis and a lot of their own Roman Greco-pagan rituals. I could read right through this. Bacchus and Ceres, those are Roman gods. Bacchus is the Roman god of orgy, and Ceres is the Roman god of fertility and crops. And they're mentioned in here also. Or any other supreme god and goddesses representing the two principles of all being. The grand periods of initiation were quarterly. And see, this lets me know that you might sit on your high horse to maybe because you're in a secret society and you think you have occult knowledge, when a lot of your occult knowledge, it appears, is Roman Greco biased. So I don't know what you're learning in secret societies, but it sounds very biased to me. Very biased towards Atlanteans and the original mystics of planet Earth. So take that in your pipe and smoke it, Masons. The grand representing the two principles of all being. The grand periods of initiation were quarterly and determined by the course of the sun and his arrival at the equinoctial and solstitial points. But the time the annual celebration was May Eve. May Eve is May Day. Why would Druids be celebrating May Day? That's a Roman holiday. When fires were kindled on the I don't even know what that word is. Cairns, Carns, and cromlechs throughout the island, which burned all night to introduce the sports of May Day. Just told you it was May Day. Once all the national sports formerly were still practiced, date their origin. Round these fires, choral dances were performed in honor of the sun, who at this season were figuratively said to rise from his tomb. The festival was licentious and continued till the luminary had attained his meridian height, when priests and attendants retired to the woods, where the most disgraceful orgies were perpetrated. Yeah, now they're engaging in orgies. Orgies are a Bacchus ritual, but the solemn initiations were performed at midnight and continued 3 degrees. This whole chapter is Masonic. This is nothing about the Druids. The first or lowest being of the Ubades, the second the Bards, and the third the Druids. Now the Bards, that's interesting. Bard is a race that you can play in D&D, and they're known for being musical. They can put spells on people with music. That's like a D&D thing. Anyone who's played D&D, you know what a Bard is. Well, they're mentioned in here. The candidate was first placed in the pesto's bed or coffin. That's a Masonic ritual, sitting in a coffin. I also heard there's a very famous 1% motorcycle club that does that same ritual, makes you sit in a coffin. I knew it was going to be biased before I read this. The candidate was placed in the pesto's bed or coffin, where his symbolical death represented the death of Hugh, or the sun. It's my son. Yeah, going in a coffin, and you basically, it's a mockery of the death of Jesus, where you die for 3 days and are reincarnated as an enlightened being of Lucifer. Yeah, that's what happens. And the restoration in the third degree symbolized the resurrection of the sun. The resurrection of the sun is Jesus. That's exactly what it is. The sun dies for 3 days in a year. This is why we have 365 days in a year, and there are 360 degrees in a circle, because the sun loses 3 degrees from December 21st to December 24th, and then it's born again on the 25th of December, otherwise known as Saturnalia in the Roman pantheon. He had to undergo trials and tests of courage similar to those practiced in the mysteries of other countries, and which therefore need not be detailed here. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you, I need to read more of this book to see what this author is doing here. I mean, what other information he gives of other secret societies in here, but this one about the Druids is very, very plagiarized. Almost as if it was written by a Mason, who really don't know who the Druids really were, or they're trying to give them the Donald Trump treatment here, right? Oh my God, I just mentioned this. The festival of the 25th of December was celebrated with great fires lighted on the tops of hills to announce the birthday of the god Sol. Yeah. All right. I gotta call BS on this. I'll pull the chats up. I can't see what people are saying as I'm reading here, but this sounds very, very No, I'm not going to need a Bible missing mod. Black magic takes intention. So just remember that. You can, and there's nothing black magic about this. This is just like, we're not reading the Lesser Key of Solomon here. But it's very plagiarized off Roman practices, and they wrote the history of the Druids. It's no surprise there. This was the moment when, after supposed the winter solstice, he began the incense and gradually to ascend. The festival indeed was kept not by the Druids only, but throughout the ancient world, from India to Ultima Thule. Thule! Well, that's mentioned in here. The fires, of course, were typical of the power and ardor of the sun, whilst the evergreens used on the occasion foreshadowed the results of the sun's renewed action on vegetation. The festival of the summer solstice was kept on the 24th of June. That's today. The festival of the summer solstice was kept on the 24th of June. 666. Hello, Roe versus Wade. You know, it's amazing. I read Roe versus... I didn't want to cover Roe versus Wade, but apparently it injects itself right with symbolism right into the Druid chapter here. All right. Thank you. Hold on. Wait a second. Andrea Mower. Sorry, didn't mean to say the last. Andrea. That's a nice name too. I like the name Andrea. Thank you for the donation. Robert also, and Mega Maga Move. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks everybody. We might have enough money now to fill that. We might have enough money to fill this thing up now. Don't worry. So I'm just having a hard time reading this because of the, like, I'm glad I didn't scan through this beforehand, actually, because, yeah, the 24th of June. You can't make this stuff up. Both days are still kept as festivals in the Christian church, the former as Christmas, the latter as St. John's Day. Today is St. John's Day. Go figure. A Catholic holiday. They overturned Roe versus Wade, huh? Because the early Christians judicially adopt... I don't even know why Christians are being mentioned in a chapter about the Druids. This is way before the times of Jesus. Just saying. Because The early Christians Judaically adopted not only the festival days of the pagans, but also so far as could be done with proprietary. Their mode of keeping them substantiate. I'm trying to pronounce a word here. I just got an alert with my substituting, however, a theological meaning for astronomical illusions. You know what? Any more Common Core education, no one's going to be able to read this book. I mean, the wording they use in these books from the 1800s is amazing. It just lets you see how, like, intelligent we were at one time, right? Anyway, what just popped up there? Just someone. Hold on. Oh, super chat. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you, King Lizard. Not the King Lizard. Don't worry. However, a theological meaning for astronomical illusions. The use of evergreens in churches at Christmas time is the Christian perception of an ancient Druidic custom. No, I don't think so. I got a theory about Christmas trees and evergreens, because if you ever notice, the Anunnaki are holding pine cones on ancient Sumerian. I believe that the pine forests, like on the east coast of the United States, where I am, anyone from New Jersey all the way up and down the east coast, it's all pine trees. I believe those were planted forests after a flood had occurred, and they had to repopulate the earth. That's where I think all the evergreens came from, and that's why the Anunnaki are holding pine cones. Alright, doctrines. The Druids taught the doctrine of one supreme being, a future state of rewards and punishments, the immortality of the soul, and metempsychosis. I actually thought that was metamorphosis at first. No, it's metempsychosis. It was a maxim with that water was the first principle of all. I think I'm pretty lousy at reading books, right? I need to practice this. It'll get better. Maybe I need glasses, maybe. It was a maxim that with the water, the first principle of all things, and existed before the creation in unsullied purity, which seems a contradiction to their other doctrine that day was the offspring of night, because night or chaos was in existence before day was created. They taught that time was only an intercepted fragment of eternity, and that there was an endless succession of worlds. In fact, their doctrines were chiefly those of Pythagoras. He entertained great veneration for the numbers 3, 7, 9, the metatonic cycle. Wait, Tesla talked about 3, 6, and 9. This talks about 3, 7, and 9. That's interesting. And 147, produced by multiplying square of 7 by 3. They also practiced vaticination, pretending to predict future events from the flights of birds, human sacrifices by white horses, the agitation of water, and lots. They seem, however, to have possessed considerable scientific knowledge, political and judicial power. Their authority in many cases exceeded that of the monarch. They were, of course, the sole interpreters of religion, and consequently superseded all sacrifices, for no private person was allowed to offer a sacrifice without their sanction. They possessed the power of excommunication, which was the most horrible punishment that could be inflicted next to that of death. Excommunication is something the Vatican does when you're like excommunicated from the church, like they just did to Nancy Pelosi. The Great Council of the Realm was competent to declare war or conclude peace without their occurrence. They determined all disputes by final and unaudible decision, and had the power of inflicting the punishment of death. And indeed, their altars streamed with blood of human victims. Holocausts of men, women, children, enclosed in large towers of wickerwork, were sometimes sacrificed as burnt offering to their superstitions, which were, at the same time, intended to enhance the consideration of the priests, who were an ambitious race delighting in blood. The Druids, it is said, preferred such and had been guilty of theft, robbery, and other crimes, and most acceptable to their gods. But when there was scarcity of criminals, they made no scruple to supply their places with innocent persons. These dreadful sacrifices, yeah, human sacrifices again, go figure, offered by the Druids for the public on the eve of a dangerous war or in time of any national calamity, and also for particular persons in high rank when they were afflicted with any dangerous disease. The priestesses, clothed in white and wearing a metal girdle, foretold the future from the observation of natural phenomena, but more especially from human sacrifices. For them was reserved the frightful task of putting to death the prisoners taken in war, and individuals condemned by the Druids, and their auguries were drawn from the manner in which blood issued from the many wounds inflicted, and also from the smoking entrails. Many of these priestesses maintained a perpetual virginity. Others gave themselves up to the most luxurious excesses. They dwelt on lonely rocks, beaten by the waters of the ocean, which the mariners looked upon as temples surrounded with unspeakable prodigies. Thus the island of Senna or Lambius, the saints near Ushant, where Merlin, yeah, I'm going to make a video about Merlin the Wizard. And I also got something from the Rosicrucians which shows a diagram of the Knights of the Round Table. Stick with me, yeah, I'll show you some cool stuff. Alright. Was said to have been there with the residence of the 9 of the 3 priestesses who delivered oracles to the sailors and then were powered but not attributed to them. Others living near the mouth of the Loire once a year destroyed their temple, scattered its materials, and having collected others, built a new one, of course a symbolical cemetery, and if one of the priestesses dropped any of the sacred materials, the others fell upon her with fierce yells, tore her to pieces, and scattered her bleeding limbs. As the Romans gained ground, the power of the Druids gradually declined, and they were finally assailed by Cerinthius Paulinus, governor of Britain under Nero. Nero was a psychopath, without a doubt. And if it was Nero that is keeping the history of the Druids, I don't believe any of this. Yeah, Nero is... I mean, most Roman emperors, anyone who wants to rule over a bunch of people like a tyrant is a psychopath in the first place, okay? Just get that through your head. But Nero is a special case. I'll make a video about him in the future. Fiddle away as Rome burns. You heard that? That was Nero. In their stronghold, the Isle of Aglacy, the entirely defeated the conqueror, consuming many of them in fires which is kindled for the burning. Them in the fires which had kindled for the burning, the Roman prisoners that had expected to make a very just retaliation upon the sanguinary priests. In Gaul, the Druids maintained themselves in their sacred woods near the island of Sina, on the promontory of Finisterre for perhaps 2 centuries longer. The progress of Christianity finally abolished them, but through their dominion was thus destroyed. Many of their religious practices continued much longer, and so late as the 11th century. In the reign of Canute, it was necessary to forbid the people to worship the sun, moon, fires, etc. Certainly many of the priestesses of the Druids are still adhered to in Freemasonry. Can't make that shit up. Look, right at the end of the chapter, you know, I told you that this sounded like Masonic bias right here, and it says right there in the chapter that a lot of the remaining Druids became Masons. I call bullshit on that one. Their order endeavored to show that it was established soon after the Edict of Canute, that thereby the Druidical worship was prohibited to Toto. The strongest oaths were required to bind the initiated to secrecy. And we just read a whole chapter of Roman Greco Freemasonic bullshit on the Druids. So, who are the Druids? I don't know. The plot thickens. I think they have something to do with the Atlanteans. And if they did have something to do with the Atlanteans, we are not getting... What the hell is that? Hold on. Yeah, it was a picture I had. We're not getting that. Now, alright, this thing I got on Nancy Pelosi, I might do this in a separate video. I'm gonna go check on my cats. I didn't plan on streaming this late, but, thanks for everyone that showed up. Masons or wannabe Druids. Everything I read from that chapter sounds just like it was from the Masons. Not only that, but a lot of Roman bias there also. So, if the, who do you think the Druids are? I believe they have something to do with the Hyperboreans. And this is going into, of all things, Atlantis. So, hold on. Am I still on full screen? So there you go. That's... I read you the chapter out of the book about the Druids. Don't worry. I'm going to make a separate video about this thing with Nancy Pelosi because I'm not 100% sure it is her. We're going by the voice and trying to... I might do that tonight. I got nothing else to do tonight. I might actually just do that video in a separate video because the reason being, it has nothing to do with the Druids. And I really don't want to put it in a video with the Druids. Nancy Pelosi asking for an exorcism in 1996. Yeah, it's interesting. But I don't want to put it in the same video. You understand what I mean by that. So someone that just wants to click on the video and hear about the Druids isn't going to have to hear about that witch. But don't worry, I've got the stuff bookmarked. Britannia is an excellent show. I was going to show the ritual scene from the first season, but the whole scene is like 10 minutes long. And I really can't get away with doing it. So, I don't know. I get creative and make other videos about this stuff and maybe just pull out small clips of it and show it to you that way. But, otherwise, I don't want to get the stream frozen for doxing it because if it's BBC that owns the copyrights to that show, BBC is a bunch of a-holes when it comes to copyright. I'm just telling you right now. I file copyrights with the BBC. I know from experience in my first rodeo. So, but it was still fun to just come on and stream. I just, listen, I don't smell any fires and I don't hear any fire engines and police cars yet, so I don't think shit hit the fan in Philly yet, but I do have to go out to the store tonight to get smokes. I'll be alright, don't worry. Don't worry. It's only 9:30. But, again, thanks to the sub. You made this for me. That's awesome. We're going to fill this up with some stuff. Don't worry. I like the sound it makes when it opens. But when you hear that noise, you better... Yeah, you know what Kenny's doing. I like that. That's pretty... It's like you're a fucking little kid playing with it. Anyway, that's going to be all for the stream. Thanks for everyone who did donate. D-Live, thanks for everyone over there. Thanks for the diamond. Twitch. Yeah, we're over at Facebook too. Anyway, that's going to be all for the stream. If there's any questions or comments, leave them below. Yeah, I am going to stream tomorrow night. I got a few video requests, and one of them was someone had asked me if I can cover Moon Children. Yes, I can. That is actually a ritual that comes from Aleister Crowley, of all people. And YouTube doesn't care whenever I cover Aleister Crowley. And it involves actually cursing fetuses that are still in the womb, so they're born Archon possessed. And yeah, it's some interesting stuff. So tomorrow we'll talk about Moon Children. This would be interesting. I gotta pull up a lot of stuff for that. Yeah, I know where it's definitely tied in with Aleister Crowley, of all things. Someone asked me if I can cover Moon Children. And what's interesting, I can't talk about that, but I believe they were trying to synthetically recreate Moon Children with a certain clot shot recently with people that were born under the pandemic. Yeah, we're getting into some really screwed up stuff here. Remember, if you're not aborted, they want you gay, sterilized, and disarmed. So just remember, this is also the CCP can come into the country and take it over without taking any casualties, right? Anyway, it's going to be all for the stream. Any questions or comments, leave them below. God bless and take care.